Number 9. The Wii U is a console that is very special to me. It was the first ever console I bought at launch, and while I didn't have much to play on it during its first year, I was quite content on playing All Stars Race and Transformed multiplayer on separate screens, playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 with a Wii remote and nunchuck, Monster Hunter cross-platform co-op with my friend on 3DS, and my backlog of favourite Wii games via backwards compatibility. But there was one game I didn't pick up until closer to the console's 1-year anniversary, and now I can't think of the Wii U without it. Zombi U is a Wii U launch game by Ubisoft Montpellier. It was heavily marketed and even had its own console bundle at launch. I remember the hype. I remember when it was called Killer Freaks from Outer Space, an arcadey experience more akin to Call of Duty Zombies with Raven Rabbits, and I remember Shigeru Miyamoto giving it a thumbs up during E3 2011. And I remember when it was re-revealed in 2012 as Zombi U, a completely different game in tone and pace. The developers must have had a stroke of genius midway through development and found fun in managing stressful situations with the gamepad, and decided to turn the game into a survival horror. I never felt compelled to play survival horrors, but it wasn't until I tried a guided demo at one of those Nintendo events they sometimes do in shopping malls that I became interested. They had me play through the beginning of the nursery segment until I, of course, died. I was anxious, out in public, unable to focus. I couldn't swing my cricket bat for the life of me. I left thinking, nah, this ain't for me. Yet I got it anyway. Was it a lack of other compelling Wii U games to play until 3D World came out? Was it because of following and reading the game on Miiverse? Was it the fact that despite my bad first impression, the demo still managed to satisfy an itch buried deep within me? Does this sound familiar to you at all? Have you ever asked a friend in conversation, or been asked by somebody, what's your zombie apocalypse plan? I don't know if it's just part of British culture or something, but it comes up in topic a lot. Could it be that modern life has become so stressful that we all secretly have fantasies of the zombie apocalypse? I was always one of those people who would not only give you an answer, but also ask you back while I listen and decide in my head if I would let you join me or leave you behind with the horde. When I played Zombi U for the first time, it allowed me to put my money where my mouth was, only for me to discover that I would probably die very quickly in a real-life scenario. Zombi U grounds you in a gritty, post-apocalyptic version of London with nothing but a cricket bat, a backpack, and your prepper pad, all supplied to you by a mysterious man who watches you via CCTV and refers to himself as the Prepper. In exchange for completing objectives, he'll let you reside in his safe house, a place where you can hoard supplies, check on CCTV, upgrade weapons, and heal and save, in complete safety, or so you'd think. From here you expand the map gradually by venturing out with your gear, with guidance from your watcher. His prepper pad is the ultimate tool that immerses you in this world. As the game was built for the Wii U gamepad in mind, movement is clunky. You also cannot jump for some reason. Must be heavy carrying all this stuff. The game controls as if you were carrying both the Wii U gamepad and your weapon, and there really is nothing quite like it. The prepper pad acts as both your map and your flashlight, which you'll constantly need to manage while navigating. This is why the ports to PS4 and Xbox One simply don't feel the same. And at any time during gameplay you can stop, whip out the prepper pad and use it to scan everything in your area or manage your backpack inventory, all displayed on your gamepad screen, while the TV changes to a third-person view. The game also shifts to this view when you are using a scoped weapon. You must glance back at the TV every now and then to check if any zombies are creeping up on you. This is pretty genius, like it's a perfect simulation of having your attention diverted, and it will train you to make sure that any room is truly safe before you stop to do so. You will also learn to efficiently manage your space so you can easily access an item during an emergency, as the gamepad gives you a limited number of quick access slots which you'll need to refill manually after use. Your main weapon you'll be using is the cricket bat, which can shove enemies away with a push, buying you some breathing room, or you can give it a good, weighty swing. This attack requires steady timing and patience. The stress rises with each swing as the camera becomes more and more unstable and your character starts to yell louder and louder. Really adds to the tension. Once you've done enough damage, you can finish them by holding the attack button. I like how these zombies can take a while to go down. They're not just walking targets. And since ammo is scarce and the sound of using it might awaken more zombies, you don't always want to be using the numerous weapons you'll find scattered across the map. Instead, the game encourages you to use other solutions, such as distracting the blighters with flares. A good example early on is when the game gives you a choice on the way to the supermarkets. Either crawl under the gap and be greeted by a bunch of zombies, or climb the ladders, throw a flare near this explosive barrel and kill them all in one go. The game does a good job at keeping you cautious and scared, especially when going in blind. Until you scan CCTV boxes, your map will be completely blank, and when your radar pings you'll have to ask yourself, am I ready? Are those zombies? Or just feckin' birds again? And to throw you off guard if you're doing well playing like a smart and stealthy survivor, the game likes to throw sudden hordes of undead at you when you least expect it. On repeat playthroughs, these remain memorable and the stress comes back knowing they're gonna come. You'll find yourself unlocking shortcuts and coming back to the safe house with new tools and upgrades at your disposal, allowing you to unlock routes in places you've been before. The game is kinda like a Metroidvania. In fact, with this title screen and these scanning mechanics, I'm seeing some similarities to Metroid Prime. It's a shame Zombi U didn't do so well at the time because I really wanted a sequel. In fact, one was considered, but the game didn't sell well enough in Ubisoft's eyes for them to greenlight it. This is a real shame because I think Zombi U was ahead of its time. I believe if this game was released and marketed today, it would have been done so as a Souls-like. In fact, when Zombi U was released in November 2012, Dark Souls 1 had just turned a year old, so the term probably hadn't been coined yet. This game is so similar to Dark Souls. A 3D Metroidvania with slow and methodical combat? Check. Online player messages and hints? Check. Have your player and items appear in other players' games? Check. Permadeath and item loss mechanics? Check. Wow, Zombi U is a Souls-like. Dark Souls' most stressful and punishing mechanic upon death involves having to go back to where you died and retrieve your souls. If you died trying, then it's night-night forever for those souls. Zombi U expands this concept even further, for if you die, not only do you start again at the safe house from scratch as a new in-universe survivor, if you want your previous survivors' stuff back, you're gonna have to go back to where you died, only to have to pry them back from the cold, dead hands of your last self. The strength of whom will be determined by how strong your character was when they died. If you die trying this, those items are redistributed across the entire map. This is awesome as hell. These zombies used to appear in other survivors' worlds too, back when the online was still working. Meaning at the time you could get a pretty good idea of how safe certain places were, based on the amount of spray paint messages scattered about, or how many player zombies were patrolling the area. The game even has a hardest difficulty where the HP of zombies is ramped all the way up, and if you die then it's game over forever. I've never survived this myself. In fact, I've never made it to the end of normal in one survivor, meaning that I've never even seen the good ending. And I'll say it again, it's a shame that this game didn't get a sequel. There is so much potential here that could be expanded further. And while the game can be speedrun in an hour and a half, the game will softlock you if you try certain things out of order. You'll also see this loading screen a lot. And while I am fine with the melee combat, I can see why others may not gel with it. Hell, I still don't even know why sometimes I will one-hit a zombie. But with a sequel, they could have more time to flesh out some things. Purposely design a sequence-breakable map with less loading and more immersive interconnectivity. They could even add more melee variety, more zombie variety, a day and night system with its own risks and rewards. Maybe even Soul-style co-op? I'm just spitballing here, but what if you could ping an SOS via the prepper pad to summon another online survivor to help you? I don't even know if a proper sequel is even possible using another controller, but Ubisoft, please, prove me wrong. This game is such an underrated gem, I think. I'll never forget the day I read that the sequel had been shelved. I still make an active effort to replay this every couple of years. It's my favourite survival horror, because despite the stress, it remains fun, unlike Alien Isolation, another survival horror I considered for this list, until I remembered that I don't have fun when I'm hiding in lockers for 50% of the time. As for every time you'll be scared and surrounded by a seemingly endless supply of spawning zombies in a murky and pretty accurate representation of a British street, the game will equally subvert your expectations with unforgettable moments. The first horde at the bunker while it's pouring torrential rain and thundering violently, walking into the zombie rave at Brick Lane Flats, exploring the interior of a burning Buckingham Palace, being captured by King Boris and forced to survive his game without your gear. The game's graphical presentation lands a striking balance of both bleak and beautiful. The lighting is impressive, and I love how this murky filter over the camera gets exaggerated by light sources. The audio design also lands the same balance, with ambient sounds which make playing with headphones twice as scary. The OST manages to convey the appropriate emotions too, whether it's the somber piano of the main theme reminding you that you're alone but alive in a fallen city, or the high energy rocking guitars used in the horde encounters. Zombi U really is the full package, and one you can replay again and again, and might just be the Wii U's killer app. It even has asymmetric multiplayer. One player is a survivor on the TV, the other manages and places zombies on the map using the gamepad. This is something that again can only be done on a Wii U gamepad. This is why Zombi U is my 9th favourite game of all time.